Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to Europa Universalis 5 as we're playing as England. So we're taking a look at our fleet here and all the trading ships. Really like that it represents this. So here we got a trade with glass from Cologne. And this is one of our trades. Oh no, this belongs to the Hanseatic League. They're trading for some of our wool. And France is trading for paper. So always thought that was kind of cool, seeing all the ships trading across the sea zones. So we should be starting the war with France in today's episode. You know, the 100 Years War, though hopefully it doesn't last 100 years. Before we unpause the game here, there is one thing I wanted to do. We're going to be changing up what our ministers or our cabinet members are currently working on because I really feel like we should work on increasing control in whatever one of our locations has the most population. I say location, but I should say province, because this will affect an entire province, which they did change the meaning of province for EU5. You know, this little area here is location, and then the entire area is a province. So since this is our most populous province, that's where we're going to want to work on increasing control, because remember when we looked at that control map, and as I mentioned last episode, control is extremely important. Get you more money, more crown power, sailors, manpower, a whole bunch of good stuff. But for our purposes, we're concerned about the levy size. So if we can get the control up, we'll get more levies. And that's going to be really important for this war with France. So we're going to work on increasing our control. And the character that would be best for that here in our cabinet would actually be our Uncle Thomas, because he has the highest admin skill, and this is an admin value. So this task will increase the maximum control in the province and will slowly increase the overall control. So it's going to assign him there since it's our most populous, so we'll be able to get the most amount of levies by increasing the control. And we're going to continue to have Sir Miles do the strengthening of the government in order to get our legitimacy a bit higher. That's increasing our crown power. Somebody asked me about crown power in the comments. Here's the tooltip for it, though that one's not as good as the one we'll see over here when we hover over this. So this is what we're actually getting from the crown power. So somebody was wondering what it does. Those are the values that it will increase. Alright, so let's go ahead and let the game play. Remember 1342. Early 1342. Oh, unfortunately, our mother died. Not that we were the closest with our mother. She kind of attempted to seize the throne from her son. And unfortunately, this event results in us losing opinion with all of our subjects. So that's a shame. But yeah, she kind of... Oh, now we can intervene in a rival war. So we can do it with France. So the mechanic is still clearly in the game. It just wouldn't let me do it with Scotland, despite the fact that Scotland was our rival. I believe what they changed is that you can no longer intervene in civil wars. So that's why we couldn't intervene in Scotland, but we can intervene in this conflict. Now, I don't see us actually wanting to do that. And there's only one other country involved. I think the best way to look at this would probably be to go through here. I'm worried that if we click that, we'd actually join it. So yeah, it's just these two very small states. Holland is decently powerful because their economy is pretty good at the start of the game. I didn't see what this conflict is about. Oh, it's a succession conflict. So we don't want them increasing their power. I wouldn't, jump in on their side, but maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to start our war now since we'd have some extra assistance. It's really only 6,000 troops though. So it's not gonna help all that much. Yeah, we'll just wait. Let them raise their troops up, get a bit exhausted from the conflict, and then when we join, I assume they'll still be in the war when we declare war on in 1342. So yeah, we'll just let them exhaust themselves, or at least to an extent, in this other conflict. So it seems that John of Lancaster, so this is the heir to Lancaster, the son of Earl Henry, just got his trait. So he's going to have an increase of military and diplomatic, but you know what? Let's train ourselves up a warrior. We're going to have him focus on the military education. I'm a little surprised we can actually change his stats, but that reminded me that we need to start arranging some marriages. Now, we married Elizabeth off last episode. Our two younger sisters are already married, but Thomas, our uncle and cabinet member, his daughters are not married yet. And you'll see that we won't be able to arrange any foreign marriages because they're just not important enough. Nobody wants to marry them. I feel like there'd be somebody out there that would marry them, given how close they are to our current ruler. But our only option is to marry them to noble. That's fine as well. And I think we should marry them to somebody like around their own age. So she's 19. Maybe old Sir Henry Percy here. Yeah, we'll do that. And what's nice about doing the noble marriages is it doesn't take any of your diplomats. Now you may be wondering why you would even want to do these. Like, what benefit are you getting since you're not getting the prestige, you're not getting the increased relations? Really what it comes down to is you just want them to have children. That's really what's important. We're going to marry both of them off to the Percys. Tie our uncle to the Percy family. I'm sure that would be wise and would have no repercussions in the future. But yeah, really you need more people, guys. So his name is going to be John, based on Jannotte, one of the more famous sons of Edward III, and the founder of the House of Lancaster, which is not exactly these Lancasters. And I say not exactly because their male line ended, and Edward was a little bit different than his predecessors. He married his sons and daughters, many of his daughters, off to the powerful nobles within his own kingdom, rather than marrying them all to, continental rulers. He married his son John to Henry's daughter, which she's not born yet. He's still really young at this point in time. Very loyal to Edward as well. Helped him in the war against France. Oh yeah, John eventually gained all the Lancaster lands. So we got an event here about a monastery in trouble. They want money, because of course they do. We're saving our money. I'm sorry, we're going to have to, unfortunately, lose the prosperity. Prosperity is very helpful, but yeah, we need to save our money. We got the historical event to establish the Order of the Garter. Inspired by the legendary Arthurian Knights of the Round Table, King Edward expects to form his own legendary Brotherhood of Knights as his elite retinue. We could of course bestow this honor upon the king's noble favorites, but there are many other groups in English society who would benefit from such patronage. So we could appoint the king's closest companions. We'll get 5 legitimacy, exalt foreign nobles, that'll give us prestige, establish our spiritual leaders, that'll get us religious influence, sponsor the arts, that's cultural influence, or honor destitute veterans, which will get us stability. But these are all, small, short-term bonuses. What really matters is the law that you're putting in place, because you notice there is a new law that we can codify here. And so you want to look at all those options to determine which one you want to do. So the Knight's Companion, that's the noble one, is going to increase the noble's power by quite a bit, but also make them more happy, and it will make our cabinet more efficient. The Stranger Knights, so that's the foreign nobles, is going to increase our diplomatic reputation, and we'll get more diplomats, where we can have more maximum diplomats, but we'll be worse at counter-espionage. So you see all these do have a penalty that comes with them. There's the Holy Brotherhood, so that's the establishing it with our spiritual leaders. So this will make the clergy more powerful and more happy, and we'll get a nice little bonus to institution growth. Really, this is probably one of the better bonuses that you can get. You can instead do Patron of the Arts. That's going to increase burgher power and their satisfaction and allow you to have one more artist. We'll take a look at the art and cultural system a bit later in the game, a later episode. It's really not that important. It helps, but not as significant as you would think it would be. Or we're going to do the Alms Knights. So this is that bottom one, the destitute veterans. And this is going to make the peasants more powerful and happy and increase the pop promotion speed. Of course, the historical option is the Knight's Companion. But I don't think we're going to go for that one, because we don't want to make the nobles any more powerful than they already are. And as I said, I feel like this one's kind of the best one. Because, you know, increasing their satisfaction is going to result in you researching faster. They're not that powerful to begin with right now, so not too worried about that being increased. And the institution growth, which is also tied to the tax system, is incredibly helpful as well. So we're going to go with that option. And we could always use the religious influence too. Yeah, we don't need to make the nobles any more powerful than they already are. We almost got this law in place. So that's the Central Council. If you recall, that gives us a slight bonus to our cabinet efficiency. But really why we wanted this is because it's going to be moving us towards centralization. I also want to show you guys that our crown power is now at 26%. So that's getting a little bit higher. Still not moving towards centralization yet. We're at 0.13. Now, we could, of course, have one of our cabinet members move us towards centralization, but it'd be temporary because it would just slowly go back to decentralized. So none of these trades are really working out, unfortunately. Already tried all of these ones here, and they only last a month. But we're sitting at 314 gold, so that's interesting because we could influence a French subject to not join this war that we're about to start. So if we took a look at this, our option is the Duchy of Normandy. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait, because I don't want to waste the money. Because watch France declare war in like December, and then that was pointless because it only works in defensive wars. So Normandy would still go to war with us, you know, if France was to attack us instead. We just got the advancement for the increased diplomatic capacity, so that's going to be helpful. We need to take a look and see if we can get any more of those alliances. And I did want to show you guys, we're currently working on getting that institution growth right in time because we're going to be moving to the next age soon. So let's see if Aragon will finally ally with us. They will. Alright, so we've been increasing their opinion pretty much since we started the game here. So it took us a while, but we got there, guys. These are our other options, if you're interested. And hopefully that won't result in us going over our limit here. So our diplomatic capacity did just increase because of that advancement we got, and we seem to be good to go. All right, so that's not a problem. Let's go and stop improving opinion with them. So that'll get us a little bit of the diplomats back. So what we can do is go ahead and cut back on the diplomatic spending just a bit. And we're also going to want to go ahead and start paying for our forts, because if you take a look at our fort here, you'll see that we don't have much of a garrison. 32 of 45. And so if we want that garrison to increase, because like if you looked at, say, London here, they also don't have much of a garrison, a bit more than there, but it could be a lot higher if we were actually paying the forts. So we want to do that now because it takes a while. The garrison doesn't increase much each month. And because we entered 1342, we are now in the age of Renaissance. So every time you enter a new age, you need to decide what your focus is going to be. And this is concerning the advancements. So these are advancements that will be available for us. And if we picked administrative focus, then all the ones here and all the ones here would not be within our advancement tree. So that means you lose the opportunity to get 2/3 of these advancements. So I just want to show you guys all of our options, and these are kind of randomized. Like, they're not always the same, like which ones are going to be available to you. So I thought that's interesting. And I know a lot of people were thinking before the game came out that you'd just always pick military focus, because you wouldn't want to miss out on the military bonuses that you get. But you got to keep in mind two things. First of all, there's going to be administrative, diplomatic, and military advancements regardless of which one of these you pick. There's ones that are always available within each age's advancement or tech trees. So you're going to have military bonuses regardless. And what I have found is I often go with the administrative ones. And there's some solid ones here. I went through them all so you guys to see, you know, what our particular choices was. And I really like a lot of these ones. But I think we're actually going to do the diplomatic ones. I like the idea of getting the March subject type. I think that would be helpful for us as England. The CB creation speed would be really nice. Some of these aren't as useful, but market attraction, that would be helpful since we have our own market. I really like the trade maritime advantage. That would be great. I guess hiring privateers, we have other ways to get access to that. But yeah, there's some really good bonuses here, guys. The subject income, we have a bunch of subjects, so that's going to help us. And then the war score costs. So reducing the cost to take stuff in wars, that would be incredibly helpful. It means each of our wars are going to be a little bit more effective in what we can get. So I showed you all three of these so that you could see that any of them would be a good choice. It really just depends. Like, none of those were superior to the other ones, in my opinion. Now, one interesting thing here is that you can see that France has already finished up that war. So that's a shame. So now they're more powerful than they would have been. Now these resolutions here, I don't know if that's the first one that popped up, if we've seen those before, but this is concerning the Papal Bulls. So they're currently voting on this one, and we cannot vote because we don't have any cardinals. So we can't even participate in that. We're going to eventually want to get ourselves a cardinal here in religion, but we got to get 145.2 religious influence, so we're not there yet, guys. Alright, so very soon, we're just kind of letting the winter end. I'm fine starting a war, like, when there's still snow on the ground. I think in March. I think we're going to do it March 1st, guys. Damn, look at all that prestige we lost. I hate random events. Not a big fan of the random event system in any Paradox game. But particularly the EU series, ever since EU4, really. I get what they're supposed to represent, you know, that crap happens. Unexpected things that are outside your control. But still, it just doesn't feel great when you're just constantly having random negative stuff happen to you that's completely outside of your control. Again, it's, you know, realistic, I suppose, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I'll talk about it more in the series. We're going to go ahead and bribe the Normans to not join the conflict. Anything to decrease the number of troops we got to fight would be helpful. I know it's a lot of money, guys. I feel like it's going to be worth it. Since we are about to declare war on them, and this would be a defensive war for France, that means the Normans would betray the king and not join in on a conflict. So just take them a minute to accept that. But you can see that they're now, you know, striped to let us know that they will not be joining that conflict. And you'll see this here as well, diplomatic betrayal. So their loyalty to their overlord has been dropped by -100, and they're disallowed from being called into the conflict. And it was saying that they only had, I think, like 2,000 dudes, but they have a lot more than that. As you can see, they have 16,000. The time that I played as England, Normandy was really, really helpful for France. That was a lot of troops that they brought into the conflict, so that's why I was very happy that we were able to get them bribed out, particularly because I don't think anybody is going to be assisting us in this, like any of our allies. So you'll see that here when we declare war. Of course, we want to make sure we use the right CB. We're going to do the Conquer the Throne of France. Now, we probably won't actually attempt to put them in a personal union. We're just going to be taking some territory. You don't want to put them in the personal union immediately because they're just too powerful. And so they're going to become disloyal and they're going to rebel against you. And so it's better to kind of take them apart a little bit, maybe in a couple wars, maybe like 3 conflicts. Because with the war score system, you can only take so much from them. Oh, wow, they took a little bit of territory from Holland. This is a good example, though. They didn't take over all Holland, even though they probably easily defeated them. I've never really been able to represent how difficult it was to invade the Low Countries in these games. But anyways, they didn't conquer all of them, even though they probably, you know, defeated them completely because of the war score system. And so, yeah, we'll take a couple wars, take them apart. That's the idea anyway, if everything works out as planned, before we attempt to lay claim to the throne. So we won't get any assistance from our allies. If we can try and call them on the war, but they'll just refuse. These are the reasons why they're refusing. The Pope is close to accepting, but Brabant is in another war, and so that's the main reason why they're not willing to assist us. And Aragon just, I think they just don't want, they don't have any concern with this conflict. So we won't get any assistance from our allies. It wasn't useless getting them because if, say, Scotland declares war on us, then they would assist us in that. And if France had, you know, they had done the war, then we would have got their assistance. So we'll be fighting this alone, and with the help of our subjects, of course. That's okay. So let's go ahead and declare war. And then you'll see that we are in the first phase of the 100 Years' War. So I think that's cool that the wars will have unique names based on the situation. So taking a look at our budget, you can see that our army maintenance was already increased. We have that set to increase as soon as we join the conflict, so we don't have to worry about that. We just need to get our troops raised up. And it's a good thing we also started work on increasing their garrison because it's been, what, 2 months? Or has it only been 1 since we did that? And it has not increased much. Again, it takes time, guys. So let's go and get all of our levies raised up. And we're going to want to raise them all. So you could do this, you know, one location at a time through here or by clicking on the map. But we want them all raised up. 65,730 of them. So let's go ahead and do that. And then also same thing with the Navy. This is not like warships. They're just fishing boats. So they're not really helpful as far as like fighting goes. But they can help us transport a lot of troops. That's the reason why we're raising those up. Now we need to speed this up. I was like, why is it going so damn slow? When we start to where it goes to speed 1 there. So we're bringing our fleet over here because we're raising troops up right here. And they're going to have to escape. Get out of there quickly. Because the French are coming. And it's going to be like 100 dudes or something like that. So slow that down because you see that the French are raising up the troops right behind us. So as soon as these guys are here, we don't want them attacked. We need to get them out. It's 220 dudes. 223 to be exact. So let's go and embark them. And might be doing a battle over here against this small little fleet. Yeah, be the first battle of the war, a naval one. We need to get all of our troops moving. I'm all concerned with this naval stuff. And we should be moving our troops. You know, some of these guys are really far. So let's have them, or maybe meet in the middle here. And we're going to pick them up with our fleet. I think that would be a lot faster. And then we're going to need to get our ships moving, I suppose, right over to here. And we also have some over here. So these are those fishing boats. As you can see, they're not for warfare. So if they got engaged, we got 4 dudes over here. We should probably just disband these guys. They're not even worth picking up. They're just feudal levies. But that also means we'll have this little notification up here. So yeah, we have our first battle. Should be an easy victory. So our 9 ships against their 2. And just like that, we were able to sink 2 of their ships. So it's our first victory in the war, getting a little bit of war score here. It's a small victory, but everything counts, right? So these guys are going over to here. Join with the rest of the fleet. And then we'll go pick up those guys up there since they're kind of far away. So any of the trade that we're doing with France, we're not going to get that anymore. So this will have to work. Remember all these ones down here that aren't making us much. Those are for our population. But our income has clearly taken a hit because that trade just isn't as good, guys. So we're going to wait till all of our ships get over here. We can go and get these guys moving to London. Takes a while to get all your troops raised up. France is having to deal with the same thing. They'll be sieging us here, though, soon. Luckily, we went through 1 month, so we were able to get a few more troops in the garrison, and this means that they're not going to be able to just, like, easily attack us there. Yeah, they're already invading over here as well. But yeah, they can't just easily seize control of that fort. If we only had, like, 10 dudes in there, then that's exactly what would have happened. And we got a jousting tournament. I suppose it's a good time for that. So we can brag about English artistic accomplishments, getting us some legitimacy, or simply enjoy the day to get some prestige. Let's go for the prestige, because prestige is garbage right now. So that would be good. Let's go ahead and get these guys combined. Are we waiting on any more ships? There's 3 more coming, but we're not going to wait on those. We don't need them. Let's go and pick up these guys. And we'll go ahead and have them merge. Easier to manage that way. You see all the ships moving up north. It's just far quicker to pick these guys up by ship than have them march all the way down there. You know, it'll take too long. So now we can just go ahead and embark them. And move them back down here. And we'll have them go to London, though I don't know that they'll actually be joining up with this army because it's already a pretty big army at 37,000. Yeah, we might give them a couple thousand of those. And then the rest will be joining this army. We're going to have 2 armies, guys. We'll get those further arranged once we're ready. We're not in any rush. Let them start sieging and stuff. It's fine. We got plenty of time, guys. So these 7,600 northern troops, let's just separate a few of them. I'm going to take the Meld Knights. The king needs the knights. And we want the war bows. I said I was going to show you guys the difference between the regular levies and the war bows. Show you why these are so much better. So the main thing that makes the war bows special is their initiative. They have an initiative of 5. And you can read that if you want to know the specifics of that. But basically, allows them to start fighting sooner. So that's a good thing. They can start doing damage much quicker. If you just looked at the feudal levies, their initiative is 1. And the second thing to consider is this penalty here that the feudal levies have. They do 10% less damage. So the warbows don't have that penalty. And so between that and the initiative, they are quite a bit better. And you'll see that most of our army is made up of warbows. Now, because these guys came from the north, we did get a few that aren't warbows, but our ones from down here will almost all be warbows. So we're going to take all these, plus we'll take the 203. And then what we're going to do is take the 5,000 and have them go over here to join that army. And then once they get over there, we've got some managing that we have to do. So we're going to merge these guys. Merge these ones. So we have an army of 26,000 and an army of 39,000. That's how much cavalry we have. Majority are, of course, infantry. But this is a rather large army. We're going to need it. We don't want to separate our troops too much, guys. Because if we were to do that, then we'd be outnumbered by the French. Let me just show you guys the current situation. They have 116,000 troops while we have 83,000. Now, this is actually much better than it usually is, and that's because we got the Normans out. So the Normans have 16,000 troops, so normally it's like 130-something thousand against your 83, and often this number is much smaller because, you know, we did things to increase our levy numbers by increasing our control in that one location, and then, of course, we also, and this is where we got a lot of those troops from that Parliament action to increase the levies. So we have a lot more troops than we would because of those actions that we took. So the first thing we need to do here is consolidate our regiments, because we looked at the formations. I mean, it's like a ton of units, right? I mean, particularly over here. It's a lot of units, and many of these, I mean, you got like 1 dude here, 8 right here. So it's just a lot of management. So what we're doing here by consolidating them is that we're merging any regiments that can merge. So get them up to like 1,000, which is the full size for the regiments of this age. So let's go ahead and do that first. So then we needed to balance out our formation, which I've already done. So we're not sitting with 20-something thousand in the center. And I also like to choose where our special units go. So we have Meld Knights over here on the left flank. So they have the best attack power. Of course, they don't have as many dudes though, so you got to consider that. And they have decent initiative as well. And then they have this really nice bonus for the strength damage taken. That's reduced by 25%. So pound for pound, this is the best unit that we have access to. The problem is we just don't have very many of those. And then over here in the center, we have the footman levy. So these guys are slightly better because they have the reduction to the strength damage taken, just 5%, but still helpful. And then we also have our regular regiment here, which is also footmen. However, there's only 100 of them, I should mention, so not very many of them. However, we're actually going to take one of these out. I'll tell you guys why in a minute. We're going to throw them into the other army. And then on the right flank here, we also have Meld Knights over here. I forgot we had the 500 over here, and those were up higher. And so the 248 will be on this side, and the 500 will be over here. And then in addition to them, we got our 4 lances. This is a special unit. Here's their description. And they're nice because they got the 3 initiative, so not quite as high as the warbows, but they also have this reduction to the morale damage taken. So a pretty solid unit as well. So we got special units on all of our fronts here. So let's go ahead and take out those 1 units. And I've already arranged these guys here. So we're going to take this footman, and then we're going to move them over to here. And the reason why you want to have one of your regular units, you know, the ones that use manpower in your armies, is because when you take fortifications, the garrison will be sitting at just 10. And so anybody can easily assault it and take it. And if it's a fortification that you don't own, the only way to put more people into the garrison is by using your own manpower. There's a button over here to do that, but you can't do it unless you have one of your regular army units. So basically a non-levy unit in that army. And so every fort you take, you know, you work really hard to take a fort, you know, it takes a while, and then it just gets taken back like super easily. So we want one of these in each of our armies. We do need to assign a general for this army. We also need to change their name because 4th Army isn't going to work. So based on ability, Captain David is clearly the best. Also, he has the Hardy Warrior General trait, which is going to reduce army attrition by 20%. So that's quite significant. But one of the most important abilities is the military one for that discipline, and that one's not all that impressive. If we sorted this by military ability, Sir Simon here is clearly the best, but his diplomatic ability is terrible, so lower army morale. This guy, Captain Henry, has the Ruthless trait, so he'll be better at assaulting. Not too bad. Administrative skill is a little low. We have Captain John. He gets the increased military tactics, but again, low administrative skill. Yeah, maybe Captain David with his lower military would be our best option. And we could always use less attrition. Yeah, we'll put Captain David in charge. So I suppose we'll call this the 2nd Army. But our 1st Army is, of course, somebody called the Bro Army. That's the one the king is leading. Alright, so I think we're ready to go. Got our 2 armies set up. You see they're doing the siege here, and they do not have enough troops to stop us. So one of the unfortunate parts of this war, and we're just going to embark the 1 army for right now. Let's bring these guys over to Dover. But the unfortunate part, and I do need to set these up because you see they're on a weird situation here, and we might be doing some more battles. So I'll move these around a little bit. So it'll be 17, 19, and 17. I also spread out our actual warships, which are those traditional galleys, and the cogs are at least better than the fishing boats, though they're just transport ships. Yeah, spread them out so we got 3 of those on each of these formations here. As I was saying here, the unfortunate part about this conflict is that we have 2 fronts to fight on. Right over here, and then of course we got Aquitaine, which is really what the French want. And so, if you spread your army out too much, then the French can easily defeat you. Now in this case, our numbers are much more comparable than they usually are. So I am going to spread them out, but we're going to be careful with that smaller army. Well, this one we're not going to be careful with at all. We're just going to stomp these French dudes. So that's 15,000, another 714 coming, 3,000 nearby. Cannot compare with our 40,000. Let's go ahead and send these guys, our fleet, to go pick up. I guess we'll pick them up right here. These ships are so much faster than I'm sure if we tried to go to Dover, we'd be waiting on them. So yeah, we'll go ahead and send them to go pick up the other troops. And we're going to watch this battle here. This is our first battle of the 100 Years' War, first land battle, I should say. So we got on speed 2 right now. We're going to speed that up. Once we go into battle, that will slow down. Look at those last 2 dudes running over there. They're a little late to the conflict. Of course, you can see our little dudes fighting here. So that's pretty cool. I like the way the battles look. We're going to zoom out just so it's not too loud when I talk here and explain what's going on with our battle screen. So if you guys recall, in the first episode, I told you that one of the reasons we built a fort right here was in order to get the defensive bonus there. So they are getting a combat penalty because of the vegetation, because there's woods there. And so that's going to hurt their dice roll. They're going to get a -1 on all dice roll. So that is a significant advantage that we have. And you can see if you take the tactical mode, which I always put it down here, it doesn't start default in your favorites. But if you put it here, then you can see what bonuses or penalties, depending on if you're the attacker or the defender, that you'll get. So if you look at this location, this is a penalty of +2 to the attacker. So you want to be the defender there. And that's because I think they have like wetland on top of the woods. And so that's a good place to defend. Mountains are another good place to defend. And so this tactical mode will help you find those locations, whether you're on the attack or on the defense. So here's our leaders and their stats, the countries involved, the number of troops that are fighting. These are the important modifiers you need to know here. So I told you guys discipline is incredibly important. That's how much damage you do. They have a 9.92% discipline, while we have 20%. So significantly higher. We really worked on increasing that discipline. So our troops are going to do 2 times more damage just from the discipline. This value here is your relative military tactics. So this reduces the damage that you take. You know what? I should have mentioned discipline also reduces the damage that you take. So we'll take less damage from the discipline too. But the main thing that military tactics do is reduce the damage that you take. Ours is higher than theirs, so that's what's important here. So we have higher discipline and higher military tactics. And this is your morale. So if your troops' morale goes to 0, then you retreat, even if your men aren't all dead. Our morale is slightly higher than theirs, really not much of a difference. So they're considered the attacker since it's our fortification here. This is the number of prisoners they've had taken. This is the number of their casualties, and that's their units that are retreated. This is ours as the defender. This here is the reserves. So I didn't talk about that with our unit because we didn't really use it. You do eventually want to use reserves. So let me just show you guys with this unit here. For our formation, we can put any unit down into reserves by right-clicking on them, and that will throw them down there. So let's just say we want to put that guy down there. We could do that and then put him back up here. So this is the reserve box, and what's nice about the reserves is that they can reinforce any of the 3 fronts. Now, how fast a unit moves from the reserves to one of these 3 boxes is based off of the combat speed, and how fast they move from here to the front line is based on the initiative. So that's why the high initiative is helpful, because you want to get your troops there first, particularly if you can get there before any of theirs do. So if they don't have anybody protecting this front, then you'll be able to do damage to the entire box. Or maybe not the entire box, but the point is that you can do damage to them without them being able to do damage back, because they can only fight if they have reached the front. So you want to get your troops there as soon as possible. Also, even if they do get somebody there, then you can say in this instance, you can outnumber that unit. Okay, so this is the enemy side here. So they have 2 units, and we only have the 1. That's the only unit that's arrived there, the Warbows, so he's fighting the 2. Now, luckily, they're about similar numbers, 996 to 1087, so he's not really vastly outnumbered here. But he's fighting alone while the rest of the troops have not arrived to the front yet. Kind of like a scout or something, or a skirmisher. All in the center here, we have a significant advantage, 6,000 troops against 243, and so we're doing a ton of damage to this 1 unit here. All their troops have not arrived onto the front. And we also have a pretty good advantage over here on the right flank. So not all of your troops can leave this box here and go over to the front. You are limited based on the frontage, and that's affected by a variety of things, including the vegetation. So the woods are actually decreasing the frontage, which will help the smaller army, since less troops can come to the front and fight. So why did I not put any of our troops in the reserves? For a couple reasons. First of all, I've noticed that it seems to mess with the predictive results a little bit, when it's trying to determine if you're going to win or not. I have seen that is affected by how many troops you have in the reserves. Sometimes it seems like it's not considering your reserve units. Though perhaps that's something that they fixed for the launch version. But another thing to consider is that, it takes time for them to march from the reserves to help out in any of these fronts. Now, the advantage of having reserves is that they can march where they're needed. So if you're getting your butt kicked on one side, like let's say you're losing on the right flank, the troops in the center are not able to help them. They can't go over there and help them exactly until they finish up destroying all the units on their side. They can't help. And so having somebody in the reserves means that they can go over there if they're needed. So that's kind of the benefit of doing reserves, but it wasn't really necessary, at least not here initially. So now you're seeing more troops go to the front up to that maximum frontage of 8. So we now have 8 regiments on both flanks and in the center, and we've already defeated the units that were over here. So that means that we're able to just attack the units in the section, and they can't attack us back. So this is really advantageous for us. Also, not many units on these sides either. We're really handing it to them. We do vastly outnumber them. You can see the casualties. We've only taken 83, while they taken 523, and they've also had quite a few units retreat. And what's going on in each of the sections is indicated here. So regiments are rolling initiative to engage. So that's why none of them are over here. Their initiative just hasn't been high enough. They haven't been able to get to the front. So that's where having very high initiative units like our warbows is helpful, because you're not going to end up in a situation like this. They're going to get to the front, or the cav units as well. Though here we got some mailed knights. They have an initiative of 2. Now, obviously that's much lower than our warbows, who have the 5, but still it's a little bit higher than the infantry, and they have not been able to make it to the front. But our icon indicates that our regiments are waiting because the front is full. So just letting this play out here. I got it on just speed 1 during battles. We can always adjust that later, but I wanted to be able to show you guys how these battles happen. So we almost won over here on the left flank. There we go. So we defeated them, and so now there's nobody over here. This allows the units on the left flank to flank the center. And so there's different stats that determine how good they are at doing that. So if we looked at the cav here, so the cav unit has a 200% flanking ability, so they're better at flanking, and so they'll get a bonus if they're doing that. So you do want to have your cav. I mean, you don't have to have them on the actual flanks, because the center can flank as well. If they wipe out all the troops here, then they can attack one of the 2 flanks, and that would be considered flanking. So them having cavalry here isn't completely useless, but the thing is that usually the center has the most units, and so you're more likely to win on either the left or right flank. So that's why I think it's better to have your cav, which is what we did, had those on one of the 2 sides. There's one more thing to consider, and that is the secure flanks value. So infantry generally has this, while the cav does not. And so they're better at defending against flanking, and so that's another reason to have your infantry in the center, since the center is most likely to get flanked, because I got 2 sides where either one of those could be a loss, and now they're being flanked. And since the cav's not as good, another reason to have them on the left or the right. Alright, so clearly going to win this battle as expected. We vastly outnumbered them, and we've already killed 2,686, and that was almost all of their cavalry as well. So that's a very nice victory here. We only lost 413. We got some army tradition, some prestige, and our units gained experience. That's going to make them better in combat, but we also gained a bit of war exhaustion as well, and we got some war score. And so we're now at 1%, and the first battle that a general, or in this case our king, takes place in, they will get their general trait, or they almost always do. And it seems to largely be random. I don't know if anything influences it, but I've seen Edward get, several different types of traits here. But he's now ruthless, so that's a 10% bonus to assault ability. So when he's attacking fortifications, he'll get a nice bonus there. So next we're going to want to just clean up all these troops here. Just get them wiped out. We're trying to decrease the number of troops they have. They're now at 121,000. Remember, we have that 84,000. And we need to pick up these guys. So let's go ahead and have them embark. And I don't know if they changed this at all, but I'm assuming they didn't. Whenever I try and move my troops that far, all the way down here to Aquitaine, they run out of food. And so we're going to have them stop along the way so that doesn't become an issue. Just wiped out another 3,000 troops, and because we so vastly outnumbered them, that was just a clean wipe. It wasn't even a battle. And we want to engage them, but unfortunately because of a fort, this one here, we have to go here first and then over to here. We're not going to do any sieges yet. Let's focus on wiping out the enemy armies first. Get the war score from that, and just not have to worry about them. So we've wiped out those troops. Now we're going to go after this 1,000. So just cleaning up the enemy troops. Sweeping the streets, guys. And we should have landed here. It doesn't look like they ran out of food. One thing we do want to do is change our ship to distribute food and to gather food, so that they can supply the food that they have on board to our troops if they happen to need it. And this is not when we're moving them. This is like when we're doing, say you wanted to attack here and you wanted to siege them down. There'd be no way for you to get food in that location. So you'd have to shuttle food across with your ship, or with your fleet. If you only had one ship, it probably wouldn't be enough food. So let's send these guys over to here. And hopefully they get there without running out of food. We have a province that's currently about to run out of food though. So we just wiped out another 1,100 units. All right, fantastic. Now let's take a look at the fort situation. So this fort does not defend any of these locations here. So we could quickly take over all of these locations. And one thing to consider is the regions they're in. So whichever one is the main location, like the capital of that region, once you take that, then all of the other locations there will flip over to you. I guess this region is a horrible example because this one here, you could take that, but these wouldn't flip because they're protected by the fort. And then these are two different states, two different countries, I mean. They're not really countries, but they're, you know, the vassals of the French. And so because they're owned by two different people, they wouldn't flip anything. This province is a better example. So if you took this location, which is the capital of the province, and also has a fortification, then all the other locations in the province would flip over to you. Now, if you're wondering what the different coloring here is, this is based on if it's a rural settlement, a town, or a city. So like London over here is a city. And you can change those. It's something we want to do once we have some spare funds. Want to convert, change over some of our locations to cities. Get a bunch of bonuses for that. But again, that's all stuff we'll look at a later time. All right, so our troops have arrived, 25,000 troops. And the enemy is down here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to march down. They did take this location. Here you can see the example. So this location here is the capital of the province, and the AI has been programmed to understand this system. So they went after the capital of the province, and nobody had presented what they claim. Okay, so that's not actually a problem, though. Kind of weird that they're doing that when we just bribed them to stay out of this conflict. We'll try and do this one. I assume it's gonna end. We'll do this one and this one. And that one. But yeah, so they took this location over, which is the capital of the province, and so now it's bringing over the entire province, and you saw that happen. And so we're going to go ahead and siege it back, and then we'll attack these guys down here. So we have taken over that location. All right, excellent. We're going to try and take over all this while we wait for the French to move their armies down here. I don't want to do a siege yet, because if we get stuck in with a siege, then you're not going to want to leave, because you want to wrap it up. And I'd like to destroy some of their armies first. So we're going to do this instead. This one should finish up first. Alright, so that's been liberated, and thus all of these locations will flip back over to us. Now attacking over here means we're going to get the penalty, because we're going to get a river penalty, you know, crossing that river. Oh, 16,000 dudes. So we want to hurry up and get this battle done before they get here. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up going to do a siege since we outnumber them. So this attack here, we're going to get the penalty from the river, but our commander is better, our morale, quality, stronger army, everything else is better. So that's going to be a victory as long as no armies pump up out of nowhere. So yeah, you can see this battle here and our values. And this should be a nice easy victory for us. But it looks like our subject, Aquitaine, is going to lose that battle. But they're weakening the French force, I suppose. So we lost 500 dudes. They lost 2745, including all their calves. We're wiping out all the knights. All the French knights will die. Quite historical. Alright, so let's go and dip back up to the north so we can give these guys the command to take Calais. Gotta take Calais in 100 Years' War, right? We gotta wipe out that army as well. And our fleet could be doing something. Let's have them start like blockading and stuff. Alright, so our troops should be moving up north now. Alright, so we have arrived. They're doing a siege here. Let me see if I can catch those guys. We cannot. Alright, so we're going to do an attack over here. And the terrain will be to our benefit. This is kind of different from EU4. In EU4, you only got the river penalty if you crossed a river. So if you walked from one settlement to the other and you crossed a river, then you got the river penalty. However, it seems like in this game, this is just based on my testing, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, you guys got access to the game now, so maybe you experience something differently. It seems like to me, if you just border a river, even if you didn't cross it, you always get the penalty. And so there's a river right here, and thus the defenders get the penalty. Now, we'll be considered the defenders because it's a fortification. So yeah, we will get the nice defensive bonus there. Or I guess they'll be getting the penalty, I should say, because of the river crossing. Even though, again, there wasn't any river crossing, nor does crossing a river even make sense to get that penalty when you're just sieging, but, you know, that's how it works. Alright, so we're still doing this. You know what, I got a better thing for our fleet to do. Oh, we got some armies marching around over here. I think that's Brittany. We're going to go and destroy this fleet. I'd like to get their navies wiped out. Like, we have our allies here kind of protecting our territory. They often have difficulty, our subjects, getting their men over to the continent. We just occupied Calais. Excellent. So now we're going to go ahead and take this location, Dunkirk, and that'll force the fleet out, and then we can get them destroyed. Because like I was saying, I think it would be good. Oh, well, look at that. Their fleet decided to attack us. Well, that's a little surprising. Though what's interesting is that these are all cogs, not fishing boats. Now, it's still going to lose because we got the galleys and we just have far more ships than they do. But yeah, they'll do a little bit better than I was thinking because they have cogs over the fishing boats. And so we did finish up this battle. Excellent. We did lose a few troops, but they lost a lot more. That's what's important. And we were going to stay on the defensive with this army for a little while. This is a good location to defend because we'll get the +2, or I should say they'll get the -2 penalty here. And this is because of the wetlands and the woods. So yeah, we will defend. Let's just do that. We'll defend that location for now. I don't even think they can get over there because of the fortification would stop them from moving over here. So with this battle done, I wiped out a few of their ships. Well, it doesn't look like we actually did. I don't know how many they had there. I thought they had 10. But we're going to move over here, and we probably will need to repair some of these ships as well when we get over here. So we're sieging this down, and we're gonna destroy this navy here. I'm gonna see if we get back in time to repair before the end of the month. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go here actually because it's closer. Yeah, we should be there. But unfortunately, if we stayed here, we would not be out in time to actually destroy that fleet. So we gotta go back out. I was hoping we can get repaired because they only repair at the end of the month. Well, that's not gonna happen. All right, so we just forced that fleet out, and now we can engage them and maybe get some of them wiped out. And we can also destroy these 4,000 troops over here. So we'll go ahead and do that as well. So another nice naval victory for us, and I wonder if we can't get back into port in time. We don't have very long. Let me just take a look here. Looks like, yeah, they'll get back in time and they can do a bit of repairing at the end of the month. All right, so that's fantastic. Oh, I'm glad we came over here. This is 22,000 armies stomping around. So we definitely want to make sure that we get any defensive bonuses in a battle with them, because that's going to be a close one. So the Cardinals just enacted this. This is going to increase estates satisfaction, so that's good. But yeah, this is interesting. They can cross right here. I think they are going to attempt to attack us because the numbers are close. Really just depends. I mean, they have 3,000 cab. They feel confident, quite confident. But we've got a good defensive bonus here, so we're going to stay here. We got the numbers, we got the defensive bonus. I don't know what their commander looks like. Let me just take a look and see if he's any good. He's decent. 72, 66, 45. Of course, I'm reading that backwards based on the military being a little bit more important. So his military is higher, but we're better with everything else. Yeah, I say let's do the battle, guys. You know, the gods favor the bold, right? All right, so we're going to go ahead and engage these guys. Another big battle. Not a big battle. It's a big battle for us because we got a lot of troops, but easy battle, I should say. Wiping out a bunch of troops. And that's really what we're just trying to do here is decrease their overall numbers, which we do need to stop this trade. Just not getting anything from that gold one. I'm going to try and get this one here, but really it's the wine. That's the only one I can see can seem to keep going. We're going to destroy those 1,400. We're at 11% war score. They're down to 118,000 troops, while we have 78,000 remaining. Part of that is from our ally, or I should say our subject over here in Aquitaine. They did lose that one battle. So they're going to attack us here, and it says that they are very likely to win. They have the higher quality. Again, it's because of the cab units. I don't know, though. I feel like the train benefit is going to be good enough. And, you know, our commander is superior, too. I don't know. We got the warbows. Not that we can get out of here in time anyways. I say let's stay there. Get the nice terrain bonus. Again, getting the one from the wetlands and the one from the woods. I say we're gonna actually watch that battle. Make sure that got these troops. They can come over here and we'll engage those 1400 later. We want to focus on this battle here. So the start of the battle is going pretty well. On this side, our troops got there first, our warbows, so we're able to attack that unit over there and nobody can attack us back. Over here, we're about equal. Outnumber us in the center a little bit for now. But looking at the important values, we have the higher morale. Obviously, we got the higher military tactics. However, they have the discipline, just slightly. But remember, they're getting the -2 to the die. So that's pretty important. So they rolled a 4. So that would be better than our 3, but because they lost 2 of those, they're now down to 2, and thus they're not doing as well. And that should be consistent throughout the battle. We'll have better die rolls because of that. It's going to be close, guys. Very close. Yeah, we got a better die roll here. But look at the casualties. We are now taking more. I mean, it did say we would lose. Like I said, I felt like with the die rolls, we should be able to get a victory here. But when it's close like this, then obviously they kill a lot more because they have the cav units, and the cav units are just so much better. Yeah, it's going to be close in casualties, guys. Now, they've had a lot of units retreat. I think that's due to our higher morale. I don't know. To me, it appears like we're going to win this battle. Oh, some of our units just retreated. We still have the higher casualties, and that's kind of what's important here. We've got to win the casualty game if we expect to defeat the French. Like, even if we win this battle, it's going to be too costly. It really wasn't... Probably wasn't worth it. We're going to go and wipe out these guys real quick. Because, we're outnumbered in the conflict, so we got to be careful with our troops. But, might be a victory. It's just going to be a Pyrrhic victory. We'll have to see here. Again, it's very, very close, coming down to the wire. But yeah, it looks like we will lose more troops. All theirs are retreating instead due to the lower morale. Nobody else to reinforce over here on the left flank. Same thing on the right. They've almost used up all their reserves. We did wipe out those 1,400 troops, by the way. Let me see what we want to do with these guys. Do we want to start a siege up? I'm a little surprised that these 2 locations are flipping over to us because there's a fort here I thought would protect those. Yeah, if we wanted to take this fort, they do have 218, so we wouldn't want to assault it. It would just be too costly to do that, even with the modifier that Edward has. It's not a bad location to do a siege because they're not going to get any terrain bonuses. There's not even a river in here. So yeah, let's do the siege. We want to do it before it's winter, though. I don't think we'll finish it that quickly. So we're going to take a penalty during winter. Really don't want to start a siege this late. I'm not sure where their other armies are, though. Obviously, this is a pretty big one over here. Yeah. Didn't quite go the way I wanted. I was hoping that the die rolls would be better. This is a pretty good one. So that helps. I mean, a victory's a victory. But this is a little bit more costly than I would want to see. They lost more than we did. Just at the end there. But still, this is 4,400 troops. That's a lot. Way more than I would have liked to have seen lost. We did get a lot of experience from it. A lot of army tradition as well. Which, if we take a look at the army tradition and what that grants, that's increased army morale, siege ability, great power score, and monthly progress to land. Alright, so we won the battle. Now they're retreating. Still a good defensive location. But if they had more troops, we would have lost that. So I'm almost considering moving them back. We had another daughter, and she already has the correct name, Mary. That's the one we want there. Let's go ahead and try and find a trade route. I guess we'll do that one. But yeah, I'm hesitant to use those troops anywhere. I almost want to pull them back here, be more conservative, because we can't afford to lose another 5,000 guys. So what we could do this fleet is probably repaired here. Yeah, they're definitely repaired. It left them there too long, honestly. Let's move them back. At the very least, what you want to do is have the fleet over here so they can retreat in another situation. And maybe we can start taking stuff, but having the fleet here would be wise, because this one's not likely to be outnumbered. We have 113,000 though, so something to keep in mind. They could technically bring all their army over here. Looks like they're going to do a siege of their own. Maybe not. But yeah, they could bring their whole army over here and outnumber us. And I guess we'll have these guys start a siege over here. We'll have the fleet assist with that. And then, if an army comes, I mean, we have to actually see it though. We won't likely see it. This is not a bad location, by the way, to do the siege, because it's, well, it's wetlands. Let me take that back. We would get a penalty there. I think that's where we're going to have to do it, though. Yeah, it's the only place where we can get supply and can easily run away. Yeah, see, they still have those 17,000 dudes right there. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it, guys. Let's just bring our armies together. Like in the same region, anyway. And we will briefly abandon Aquitaine. That'll also let us make sure they don't take all this territory back over, and we can just wipe out any small armies that come over here, since, you know, our main army is busy. Well, they were able to come all the way over here without running out of food, so that must have been changed. So troops don't run out of food as easily. Yeah, I think we might change up this. So bring these guys over here and let them do the siege. It's risky because, you know, a larger French army could attack them. But I'm thinking about attrition, guys. Now, another thing to consider is that Edward is better at sieges. Edward has the higher admin ability, so he gets a nicer bonus for, you know, siege. But I'm more worried about the attrition that's going to come in winter. So we're going to take, you know, attrition if we're doing a siege. And so I'd rather them take it rather than the 39,000, because it's usually a percentage. And so the more troops we have, the more die. That's the idea. So let's have the smaller army there, but this is also risky because by having the smaller army there, the French army could come over here and wipe them out. Well, hopefully our own troops here will be close enough that they can rescue them in such a situation. But you gotta kind of be paying attention so that you don't miss that happening. And yeah, we'll just do these little sieges here. And unfortunately, the Royal Army's out of food. We're not getting food there. So let's bring the fleet out. There's really no reason to have them sitting there anyways because they're fully repaired. So bring the fleet out so that they can supply the army. So we took all these back over, and there's a fleet right here. We wouldn't be able to keep that if we took it because, you know, the fort would flip it back. But we could try and destroy the fleet. So that's what we're going to try and do here. They also have 9,000 dudes right here. I don't know what kind of bonuses they would get here. They wouldn't get any. So I think we're going to wipe those guys out if we can. I don't know if it'll let me get past this fort, though. But we can always get onto the ship. After we take this, get on the ship and then land, I suppose. Another army coming over here. This gives us an opportunity to wipe out all these little armies, too. I don't know why the Royal Army keeps running out of food. They should be getting the food from the fleet. They have plenty of it. And they're right here. They should be giving it to them. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I'm not entirely sure why they're not getting the food from them. Alright, so we have taken that over. That means there's going to be this little fleet battle over here. And we're going to go attack these guys. But you got to make sure that you have a line to your locations. Yeah, see, we're getting the supply there now. You can see the line. So we're getting it from the ships. We did finish up this battle. All right, excellent. So destroyed, I don't know, a couple ships there. It looked like we might have taken a little bit of damage here. So, oh yeah, we're down to 40-something%. So we might want to repair these. See if we can get back home before the end of the month. So you see there's a bit of snow on the ground. I wanted to show this here. It's a mild winter. So that just decreases the local food production and increases the maximum attrition. Doesn't mean you actually take attrition. It needs to be more than a mild winter. We destroyed those 17 or almost 1,800 troops there. So it's not a huge issue yet. But if the winter becomes more severe, then you'll start to see some attrition loss there. Or will gain some attrition, start taking some losses. So we got the institution growth. So our fleet was able to get back and repair just a little bit. Still have some damage, but we'll try and get them back in there before the end of the month. And yeah, the Royal Army is having some serious problems with the food. Again, the fleet isn't really supplying the way it usually does. Lady Margaret has come of age here. And the French have decided to launch an invasion of Jersey. Super important place here. So they decided to attack there. That's interesting, out of all the places for them to attack. And they're also sieging down Bordeaux as well, while we're doing our own siege. But we'll get this one done first. It does look like the snow on the ground's a little bit deeper. Nope, still mild winter. Alright, so we've taken over Dunkirk again. We're going to march home. Get some food, I guess. Apparently our fleet can't seem to provide it to us. We're also going to bring the ships back, so that they can repair at the end of the month here. So yeah, they're doing the siege here. This isn't even a fortification. It's really not that big of a deal. In fact, if we wiped out their ships, then those 12,000 would just get like stuck there. So maybe at the end of the month, I'll go over there and see what we can do, because we want to repair up here first. And banking, the institution has appeared, and our son Lionel is ambitious. So he's going to get a bonus to diplomatic and administration. So we could have him focus on one of those two, change up his education, but you don't get quite as good of a bonus when you think about it. Let's say you moved into administration. That's 0.75 for administration, then 0.25 for the other two. That's a total of 1.25 overall on the skills. Well, with the balance, you're getting 0.5 for each one of them. So that's 1.5 total. So it just seems like balance is a better option unless you're trying to like really focus a character. And I'm fine with him having some skills in both of those. Maybe he'll be like an administrator for us. But we do want one of our sons to be really good at warfare. Besides the Black Prince, of course, which I'm hoping that he's getting good. I haven't looked at him. Well, he's looking alright. He's 12 years old. He's got plenty of time, but yeah, I hope that increases further. So if you're curious what I'm doing with all this money here, I'm hoping to request somebody's war entry once we have the money. So we'll see if we can't make that happen. Yeah, eventually we're going to have to bring some troops over to take care of that, because I don't want them taking over any of our territory. Mess with our war score. And they've also come over here to siege our home territory. That's unfortunate. We do have some allies here, but yeah, they're not going to be able to do it. So we're going to have to take care of this, guys. So let's go ahead and deal with this event. We can either take this penalty to trade efficiency or lose estate satisfaction for the burghers. Well, yeah, we're just going to have to do that one for now. We're going to have to bring the king home with his army in order to take care of these troops. And I don't want them getting involved with the battle here. So let's go ahead and attack them, and then they'll do this attack. See if we can't wipe out that. Because there's actually some troops on board. Oh, okay, they haven't actually landed there. Alright, so we forced the fleet to retreat. It would have been better if we hadn't allowed them to land. That's okay. So we need to pick these guys up first. But next time, let's do that. Let's let them land so that we can wipe them out. Because they won't be able to retreat anywhere. So we can like completely wipe them out. So it's actually in our best interest. So if they go back, which it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're going to invade the north. Okay. Let's let them land this time. Okay, they're right there. Alright, excellent. So we kind of bouncing around here. Typical gameplay for Europa Universalis. So we're going to send our fleet over there so they don't engage them. Let them land. It does mean we won't be able to support this army if they were to get attacked. So that's one negative about us doing this. Alright, so we landed. Let's see if I can't engage them. Ah, damn, I was hoping to hit the fleet. Alright, so let's go ahead and attack these guys. Where'd they go? I don't think we're going to catch them, guys. Yeah, they got away. Okay, so not exactly surprising. Let's just go to Boston so that we can pick our troops up when this is done. We're going to wipe these guys out, and then we'll be able to chase them down. There's nowhere for them to go. So this is like actually wiping out 12,000 troops. And we did finish up the siege. Alright, fantastic. I didn't think we'd get it done that quickly. It wasn't too bad. Let's go and wipe out all the troops that are around here. Well, actually, before we do that, we need to refill the garrison. So the garrison is just 10 men. So they could easily assault that and take it from us. But we have 100 dudes that we can refill the garrison with. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That brings them down to 0. And they'll take that manpower to restore their strength. And then that will result in us having 110. So they'll actually have to siege that in order to take it from us, rather than do a full assault. And let's see how things are going over here. Where's our army? Because it looks like they're there, but they're actually down here. I've seen this bug before. Yeah, it's like a graphical issue, where the unit is not like where they're supposed to be. We don't need to take that. The fort should take that for us. So yeah, let's go ahead and engage these 26 dudes, and I think we can actually take that over. It's not protected by a fort. So we'll take that over as well. And we also have to deal with that siege eventually, guys. But I think we're going to allow our king to do that. And unfortunately, Lincoln has fallen, so they did invade us. And they successfully took a location over. And now they're running from us. So now we got to attempt to catch them. So we destroyed those 26. So now we're going to do the siege here. And should be able to wipe these guys out. Now they'll retreat, but there's nowhere for them to go. So let's do this siege to get this back, because they're going to move faster than us. Or maybe I should chase them down. I don't know why our allies aren't doing a dang thing. I suppose we can change up how we set them. So manage our subjects here. You know, you can do a bunch of different things in here. But the key is to like change up the military stance. They're currently set to normal. We could instead set them to aggressive, supportive, passive, or defensive. I don't think setting them to aggressive would actually result in them invading, maybe. But they'd probably just get wiped out, honestly, because they'd be vastly outnumbered. It's better to set them to defensive, I think. All of our allies in the hope. Except for Aquitaine. I don't care if they do some attacks. But in the hope that they'll actually defend our territory over here. Like, I understand why they didn't come over here to fight these guys, because they're outnumbered. But like, you can come siege just down for me. You could do that. So now we gotta chase these guys down. And see if we can't get them wiped out in another battle. Oh, where are they going? Okay, we'll get to do the battle there. And we'll see how that goes. We're at 22% on the war score currently. And we were able to completely wipe them out. They didn't have any morale, and we vastly outnumbered them. So they're not coming over here to do the siege. We'll have to do it before we leave. So unfortunately, we do have to end today's episode here. So the Royal Army will do the siege, and I think we're going to bring them down to Aquitaine and have them wipe out that French army and stop the siege. And then these guys, I'm not sure what we'll have them do. Maybe start another siege, like perhaps right here. Try and get us a bit more war score. But we only played a couple years because we're micromanaging the hell out of our troops trying to win this conflict. And we're doing a fantastic job, guys. We've already destroyed 15 other ships, losing 5 of our own. And look at the casualty difference, the kill-death ratio, if you will. They're down to 88,000 men. We've killed 40,000 of theirs while only losing 12,000 of our own. So we've almost brought them down to our own numbers. So this is how we're going to win the war, guys. We've got to kill as many of them as possible while losing as few of our own troops as we can. So I think it's going pretty well so far. Hopefully we can continue to get our victories and do a advantageous peace treaty in the next episode. So I hope you guys did enjoy this one. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. We hope to see you guys on the next one. And thanks for watching.